Mr. President, welcome to the Executive Committee of the World Jewish Congress. We have approximately 25 countries here, and yesterday we were all in Thessaloniki, Greece. It was the 70th anniversary of the deportation of the Jewish people from Thessaloniki. Thessaloniki, sometimes called the Jerusalem of the Balkans, is a place I know you know. I believe your father was at one time there in Greece. It was a very, very moving event at the main synagogue. And I think all of us realized how fragile Jewish communities were. But the fascinating thing was, even though there were only 2,000 people left at the end, they really built a community. And we saw a hope and a spirit that I think all of us came away with. And it was something very, very important for us to see. And I think the fact that the World Jewish Congress came to Thessaloniki had a major effect on the people there. And we thank, and we were very special. Now, thank you very much for coming on this special day. I know that they're trying to figure out at Knesset where you disappeared to. I know everyone's putting in their credentials, and I was at the last time when the government came in, and it was one of my longest days watching people come in and having 125 different ministries. But anyway, I thank you very, very much for coming, and I wonder if you could say a few words to us. And again, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Shai, dear friends. In case you don't know, we have a new government in Israel. I'm just coming from the opening by the newly elected Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. And like in those occasions, we wish them really success. We need a good government and a great government, and they were legitimately elected, and I hope they'll do the job. I'm very glad to see you, Ron. You really stand tall on behalf of the Jewish people, not only physically, but also spiritually and politically. And I know that you are traveling to many places, putting the Jewish case before world leaders with great eloquence and deep convictions. And I think really you are offering our people an outstanding service. On behalf of the State of Israel, I want really to congratulate you for this service. Before I shall say some other words, I want to tell you, I have one idea which I think you maybe should think about it. You know, today the world has two sorts of governments: the national governments of the states and the global corporations of the global world. We are mostly acting among governments. But governments are very much in troubles nowadays. Governments became weak because the two major elements that enables them to government were partly taken away from them. Economy is no longer national, but global. Global economy affects every country, but there is no country that can affect the global economy. And so is security. Security today is basically terror. It endangers many people all over the world. There is no government that can take it over. Governments have budgets, but they don't have money. Corporations have money, but they don't have political obligations. They are providing some important service to our time. For example, globality put an end to racism. You cannot be global and racist. On the other hand, globality empowers the individual because they don't govern by force, they govern by goodwill, by answering the desires, expectations of individuals. Many of them are really very keen in improving the whole world situation and to develop underdeveloped regions. I think the Jewish Congress may try to be active among the CEOs of those governments, of those corporations. I myself, I'm connected with many of them. They are doing us a great service. They are highly intelligent people. Many of them are supporters of Israel. Many of them are Jewish. And if you can make a group, maybe, of CEOs for peace and food in the Middle East, you know, there are 40 world corporations that have more means and money than all governments in the world. They are really the ones that can make things move. And since you are also a non-governmental organization, if you have in this group 20, 30, 40, I'm going to speak about it also with President Obama, because I think today corporations can do a better job here and elsewhere than governments. Governments to governments have very complicated relations, and governments cost a lot. The bureaucracy, the army, the police. The corporations are working on goodwill, so they don't need neither a bureaucracy, nor an army, nor a police. And anyway, an army cannot conquer wisdom, and the police cannot arrest science. So it's a new world, and maybe that you, ladies and gentlemen, can try to think about a special organization. I, for one, I'm trying to do it myself anyway, because we are a small island in a stormy sea. We have to defend the island, which is costly, because the cost of the security of Israel is not in proportion to the size of Israel, but must be in proportion to the size of our enemies. So it's unproportionate. On the other hand, we would like to end the storm in the Middle East, because more than the island affects the sea affects the island. And we can do it by really trying to help many of them to escape poverty, to escape unemployment, to escape tyranny. So this is I really want to put on your agenda. Have a thought about it. I know that you represent a very important part of Jewish life all over the places. I know there are people here from Saloniki, right? I delivered a speech before the European Parliament, and I told them that in May 1943, there were two events that moved us deeply. One, unfortunately, in Saloniki, where most of the Jewish people in Saloniki were murdered. I think 90% of them. If I'm not wrong, it was a community of 70,000 at the time. On the other hand, there was the Bulgarian people who saved most of the people. And I compared the two. And I say we shall never forget one, we shall never ignore the other. And we shall never forget the past, as we shall never ignore the future. I mean, I told the Europeans that they are in a way a miracle, and we are in a way a miracle. They are a miracle because if somebody would stood up on May 1945, at the end of the Second World War, and say that in 6 years' time there will be a new Europe, that will depart from 1,000 years of history, of hatred, of war, of blood. And in 6 short years, we shall say different European people, not only in the way they are organized, but in the way they relate one to another. Before it, I wouldn't imagine that not only a German person would speak to a Polish person, but even a British will hardly meet a French one. And all of a sudden, everything is open. And if somebody would say that in 6 short years this can happen, that in 6 short years the protocol to create a united Europe will take place, nobody would believe. Because when people say, well, you need generations and generations and generations to change a 1,000 years history, you don't need generations. You need strong will and great visions. Then you have the time to do so. Then if somebody would stand up at the same time, in May 1945, after the Holocaust, after we lost 6 million of our people, among them 1.5 million children, a third of us were exterminated, and say that in 3 years' time, from May 1943 to May, actually not, to May 1948, we shall have a Jewish state, independent, successful, with a very impressive economy, with a very heroic army, with an ingathering of exiles, and we considered an outstanding country in the domain of science and technology. People would hardly believe it, yet it happened. And as a Jewish person, may I say that when I try to remember what was our dreams in 1948 when the State of Israel was created, I must admit that our dreams look small in comparison with the reality that we have created. We were wrong in dreaming and surprising in implementing it. But we are not yet at a safe shore. There is still a great deal to do. There is still anti-Semitism. Also, there is still a great deal of friendship. Yesterday, I have a group from American students who asked me, why is Israel so unpopular in the world after all what you did? I say, who told you so? You know, there is a conventional division between the West and the rest. This division doesn't exist anymore. Either all of us are West or all of us are the rest. This is an old definition that doesn't hold water. But if you say that we are unpopular, well, let me have a look around. For 2,000 years, we have had problems with the Catholic Church. There are only 1 billion, 1.5 billion people. Today we are in an excellent situation. So all of a sudden we discovered 1 million, 1.5 million friendly people. The outgoing Pope was more than a friend. He says the Jews are our elder brother. He denied that the Jews were responsible for the killing of Jesus Christ. He visited the synagogue. So you want to tell me that we have 1.5 billion people, enemies? No. Then there was a small country by the name of China. I'm reluctant to say that the Chinese don't know what is anti-Semitism at all. I gave a lecture there, and after the lecture, there were questions. One of the question was, what does it mean, anti-Semitism? Really, they didn't hear about it. And they think that our forefathers are 3 at least: Karl Marx, Albert Einstein, Sigmund Freud, maybe Henry Kissinger as well. And since all the four are considered as wise people, apparently we are wise people. I don't deny it. I'm not going into details. So another 1,200,000,000, it's not bad. There's another 1,200,000,000 people in India. Can you say that they are anti-Israelis? Israelis are not popular. Who said so? Every year we have here a agricultural gathering. At least 1,000 people every year are coming from India to learn here. So how many we have? 1,000,000,000, 2.2, 3.3. It's almost half of the world. Now let's go. There's another small country with the name of the United States of America. The latest poll shows that 64% are really pro-Israel. I don't know any other country that enjoys such a support. Please add them.
Even Israel.
Even Israel, that's right. Then let's go further. There are other countries in, say, Asia. One small country, it's a recent development, Vietnam, only 90 million people. We have now 1,000 farmers from Vietnam studying here. And they came to study in our army, in our universities. There is South Korea, another friend. There is Singapore, another friend. Where do you put them in? And even I say countries like France, true, there is anti-Semitism, but there is also admiration for Israel. I can say that Germany, post-Nazi Germany, are really dedicated to support Israel. So where is Israel unpopular, I want to know. Maybe in some Scandinavian countries, but more in the press than among the people. So I don't take it. You know, it's very easy to nominate enemies, but to maintain them is extremely costly. I don't know why do we maintain every hostility and every animosity toward Israel. Ron agreed to answer a suggestion I made, and that is to publish finally a book, which will be called The Protocols of the Wise Men of Zion, instead of Protocols of the Elders of Zion. Time has come that the world will know what the Jews have contributed, and not to be victims of the bluff of what the Jews have harmed or enjoyed. I thank you for it. I think it may be a very important document. I was promised by one of my friends that if the book will be written, and we started to work on it, it will be done in 2 languages, one written, the other the internet. In the internet, there will be close to 1 billion copies distributed. So I think you are told, we are told, Ron, and we don't have to fall down. I really want to thank you, your president, Ron, your leaders of different Jewish community, and wish you that you will continue to do your great job and make other people understand why they should love Israel and why they should be victims of wrong stories and rumors. So we have a great past, but we are going to have also a great future. Thank you.
This is the Theodore Herzl Award that weighs about 50 pounds. And frankly, I was supposed to deliver it in Moscow when you came to the museum, but unfortunately I was sick and there was no plane that could carry this. And I've been carrying it around for a long time looking to deliver it, because the Theodore Herzl Award is a new award that we have, and you are the first recipient of it. And frankly, it is the highest award we can those people who have made a difference in the world for Jewish people. And I give it to you. Please don't lift it because we want you to live another 10 years, 20 years. Like this. Right there. Hey, break it.
I want to thank Ron. I know that Herzl is heavyweight,
And I know you knew him personally
yes,
growing up.
but I want to make a commercial. I wrote a book which is called With Herzl Visiting Israel. I was asked by a French edition in the Le Monde to try and take the dream of Herzl and take Herzl himself now to visit the country that he was dreaming about. It's surprising how much of his dreams are today a reality in Israel.